Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, I'm still in Las Vegas. We just got past what was supposed to be a big fight week. Fight didn't really deliver. A lot of people upset. But I'm back. Today's Monday mail day. Canelo versus Chavez Jr. is in the past, and it's on to Canelo versus Triple G. I put a thumb up next to the questions I will be answering, and there's a good amount of questions on this particular one, so I couldn't get to everyone. This video had 4,000 plus views, 145 comments, and this is just in one day because I actually put it up a little bit late Saturday night after the fight. But let's get it in, man. First question is from Amelia Gomez. Hey Ego, love your channel. Thank you. 1. Do you think Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. wasn't prepared for the fight? Was it nerves that got him, the weight, his team? What could he have done differently? Did he have any chance? 2. How did Canelo look? 3. Who you got for Canelo versus Triple G? Thanks. First part of your question, I think Chavez was as prepared as he could be, and I'll kind of expand on this later. But the thing about it is he has had discipline issues in the past, and maybe it caught up with him. You know what I mean? Ballooning up in weight, and now you're forcing yourself down. So even though you did it right in this camp, maybe the weight didn't agree with him. But part 2 of your question, Canelo looked exceptional. He looked good at the weight. He was sharp. His combination punches were there. He looked strong. Even though he didn't get the stoppage, you're not always going to stop somebody, especially somebody, even the Fonfara fight. I don't think Chavez Jr. was incapable of continuing. I think he didn't want to because he got knocked down and he just, you know what I mean, took the back door out. But he kind of did a no mas and quit. Like, I don't have to deal with this. You know what I mean? Just like what Gamboa did. I mean, there's a chance for Gamboa because I don't know if he has the chin Chavez Jr. has, but chance Gamboa would have gotten stopped because he was getting knocked down twice. But Chavez, I don't think he's tough. He's durable. He's big. You know what I mean? A lot of times he's bigger than the opponent. So I can't take anything away from Canelo. He chopped up his man, did what he was supposed to do. And to be honest, he even gave opportunities as he was getting tired. He gave opportunities to Chavez, and he didn't capitalize or even show the fighter instinct. For example, Canelo walked himself back to the ropes. I can think of at least a couple of times, and he was like kind of beckoning him to come forward and hit him. You know what I mean? That's embarrassing. So Canelo he's like basically asking you to hit him, and you don't oblige him. You don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? You just let off the gas, and even when he's on the backs against the ropes, which gives you the best shot. So in the end, it wasn't a good look for Chavez Jr. Even in other fights, like even on that card, David Lemieux versus Marcos Reyes. Reyes has been stopped in his last 2 fights. He had got stopped once, and he lost to Chavez Jr. But I did not see a lack of trying. I had him losing every round pretty much to David Lemieux, and I never seen him give up. His face was bleeding and leaking, and Chavez after the fight, post-fight, said Canelo never hurt me. So I don't like when fighters do stuff like that because that makes it worse to me. He didn't hurt you, but you did nothing. And like, if you're not being hurt and he's not doing anything, why are you discouraged? You know what I mean? That doesn't even make sense to me. He didn't hurt me, I didn't feel it, but your face is showing a different story. And then also, you didn't push the action. Like I said, Marcos Reyes, he was hurt and he was still trying. You know what I mean? That Cinco de Mayo, that spirit. He was like, nah, I'm not gonna let this David Lemieux dude knock me out. And he went the distance with David Lemieux, who just brutally stopped Curtis Stevens. So David Lemieux clearly has stoppage power. In rounds 1 and 2, he was throwing everything at him. He landed a nasty ass uppercut on Marcos Reyes, and Reyes, through grit and determination, pushed himself and willed himself through that fight. Chavez didn't really do that. Another fight that was kind of similar was Canelo versus El Perro Angulo. Canelo did the same thing, baiting Angulo to attack him while he was on the ropes, but Angulo was at least trying to attack. No matter if Canelo exploded and hit him with several punches after, he would at least try to to force the attack. You know what I mean? We didn't really see that. Chavez didn't really show the fighter instinct and the fighter spirit. So Canelo looks sharp. I can't take nothing away from him. And who do I have in Canelo versus Triple G, which is a popular question? I really don't know. I don't know, because I can make a strong case for both fighters. There's a lot that is going to depend on. Triple G, his last 2 fights, some people think he was kind of exposed. Canelo just fought at 164.5. And I told you guys before, if Canelo dogged Chavez Jr. and made it look easy, then I would pick him to fight and beat Triple G. The only problem with this particular fight is Chavez Jr. put up no fight. You know what I mean? There was very little resistance. He was literally kind of a walking punching bag. And I know people overuse that. They say cherry picking or punching bag and stuff. But I mean, he really didn't provide much resistance. So it's hard for me to gauge Canelo fully. Like, he looked sharp, but he looked sharp against a guy who wasn't really even fighting back. You know what I mean? I feel like you can get a top, like somebody in the top 15 to 20 that would have put up a better fight than that against Canelo. And you know what I mean, the further you get outside the top 10, those guys probably don't have as much of a chance with the elite. You know what I mean? When you start getting to rank number 19, they might not be ready or whatever the situation is. But I feel like anybody in the top 15 to 20 would probably have provided a better fight. You know what I mean? Even Liam Smith at 54 provided a better fight than that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to gauge, to be honest, off of that performance. I could be like, yeah, Canelo looked exceptional, which he did. But again, he was in there with a guy who didn't really provide him much of anything, much resistance. So he was able to have his way all the way through. All right. Golovkin's not going to go out like that. Golovkin has power. He knows it. He has 350 plus amateur fights. He would never go out like that. I can't picture it. And most fighters wouldn't. I talked to my dude Joey Spencer. Make sure you check out, the kid is smart. But he said when Danny Garcia was with Keith Thurman in them late rounds, I said, do you think it was because he got gun shy of the power? And Joey Spencer said, you know what? As a fighter, I'm not saying I want to get knocked out, but you got to take me out on a stretcher before I just don't try to do anything to adapt. Meaning, if I try to adjust and make some adjustments, and with those adjustments there's a chance that I'll in turn get knocked out, I'm willing to do that to try to turn the fight around in my favor. But Chavez Jr. clearly wasn't, or didn't. Next question, Mike Hawk. What are the chances that Canelo Chavez was fixed? Chavez was in quote-unquote the best shape of his life, threw less than 10 punches around, couldn't win or didn't even try to win a round, never used his size advantage at all, never tried switching it up at all despite losing every round, seemed to pull his punches when he had Canelo on the ropes. Canelo also didn't really seem to try and sit down on his punches and go to the body and actually try to get him out of there despite the fact that Chavez wasn't throwing at all. To top it all off, already had a promo vid for Canelo Triple G in the date set. And when they did negotiate the fight, when did they negotiate the fight? What's up with the WWE shit they did? Do you ever want to see Chavez in the ring again? Okay, you're asking a lot. Also, before the fight in your 7 reasons wasn't an easy fight, you said you would favor Canelo over Triple G if he got past easily, which he did. Do you still feel the same way, or would Triple G have looked just as good versus Chavez? Was it fixed, or Canelo just that much better? That's a lot of questions. 7 reasons. I did say I don't think it'll be easy work, but again, you can't really account for Chavez Jr. throwing that few punches and looking completely different than he's like his whole MO is a pressure fighter, and he provided no pressure. So I don't think most people expected it to play out like that. And if everybody expected it to play out to that, I don't see why 10,000 people went to the weigh-in and 20,000 people were in attendance. You know what I'm saying? So obviously somebody somewhere thought it would be somewhat competitive, right? So yeah, I just mentioned that too. With the Canelo Triple G, it's a little bit different because I didn't expect to see this much of a dud from Chavez Jr. to the point where he doesn't even look like he's trying. Like you just said, it doesn't look like he was really trying. So I don't know if I can gauge that. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like Canelo was in there with, like, let's say JERMALL CHARLO that just fought JULIO and J. Rock Williams, the same version, but at 160. and he did that to Jermall Charlo, then I'd be like, wow, he just chopped him up. You know what I mean? I give him a lot of credit, but it's hard to give credit when a guy's not give Canelo credit. That's not what I meant. But it's hard to use that as a catalyst to why Canelo could beat Triple G when, again, Canelo's face was clear at the end of the fight, and it was really because Chavez wasn't throwing enough punches. If he threw more punches, he could at least mark up Canelo's face. Floyd Mayweather, who is not even a true 54-pounder, fought Canelo at a 152, and Canelo's face was more marked up. He had like a black eye from Floyd, who moved up 5 weight classes. You know what I mean? So you mean to tell me Chavez Jr., even at 164.5, if he let his hands go, he couldn't mark up Canelo's face a little bit more or do a little bit more? So it's kind of hard. As far as the fight being fixed, I mean, I don't know. It looked like it. There's a couple fights in boxing history that look fixed to me. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist either, but Pacquiao versus Clottey, that looked fake as hell. Like, you seen the war that Clottey had versus Miguel Cotto, and then when he got in there with Pacquiao was hitting him with 2 punches at the same time. Like, he hit him with both hands at the same time, and then he got warned for doing that because you're not allowed to do that. You can't punch somebody with 2 punches simultaneously. That fight looked hella fake. And this kind of looked fake just based on the Cinco de Mayo war and how much trash Chavez and Canelo were talking. So to present a performance like that, but I don't know. Maybe all the energy was spent on a fat camp, and by the time the fight came, he didn't have nothing. I don't know, but it did look fake. But I don't know. It is what it is. If it was fake or if it wasn't, that's the fight we got, and it was pretty terrible. Next question, Giovan Epperson. Assuming Canelo beats Triple G, what potential super fights could you see down the road for him? And do you think Canelo looks better at a higher weight? Again, with the second part of your question, very, very hard for me to determine that. And it's really based on the fact that the higher weight, he was in there with somebody who wasn't really fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody, I don't remember the last fight, me personally, where, like, when I see, for example, let's say Floyd Mayweather, when I see him fight, his skill level is doing that to fighters. Like when he fought Robert the Ghost Guerrero. It's because Floyd is giving Guerrero so many different looks. Guerrero, with his style, doesn't know what to do with him. He can't corner Floyd. He can't trap him on the ropes. Even when he gets him on the ropes, Floyd's defense is too sharp. So that is the result, and that's why the fight looks so one-sided. Even Floyd versus Canelo, it's not that Canelo wasn't a good fighter even at age 23. It's because Floyd is Floyd, and his skill is putting up that domination. You know what I mean? Even Pacquiao versus Antonio Margarito, it's because Pacquiao's style works very well with that come forward aggression, mindless kind of plodding forward, heavy puncher, stuff like that. And that's why the Pacquiao fight, because of his skill, because of his style, his awkwardness. So as far as your second question, I can't say Canelo looks better at the higher weight. He looked great, but then he also looked great against somebody who seemed to be out of it for whatever reason. You know what I mean? It's just like Vasyl Lomachenko versus Nicholas Walters. Nicholas Walters looked like he didn't even want to be there. You know what I'm saying? So it's a great win for Lomachenko. He looked badass, but at the same time, there was no level of resistance. It was just Lomachenko throwing a bunch of punches, Walters off a long layoff, probably had a fat camp like Chavez Jr. And that was almost like the same performance. I thought that was going to be an epic fight, and neither of them were. Lomachenko versus Walters, or the fight with Canelo Chavez. So I can't say he looked so much better. He looked good. He looked sharp, but you have to consider who he's in there with. And Chavez disappointed a lot of people because he wasn't active enough. If Canelo gets past Triple G, I think David Lemieux would be a big fight for him, because, you know what I mean, just because Triple G beat him doesn't mean that David Lemieux, who's been knocking people out and looking very aggressive and sharp, has a knockout of the year this year. That doesn't mean that Canelo can easily beat him. He's still relatively new to the division. Even if he fights Triple G, that would only be like 2 fights above 160. So I think that's a big fight. I think Demetrius Andrade, if he does a little bit more at 154 and then moves up, or JERMALL Charlo, that's a fight I would like to see. Danny Jacobs. I mean, any of these are all great fights to me, and I think they could be pretty big. Canelo has star power, so if he can do those numbers with Liam Smith, then you can't tell me he can't do numbers with Danny Jacobs, a known threat, or JERMALL Charlo, a known threat. Next question, especially if he beats Triple G, his star power really will grow. Next question, Matador Hernandez. Why don't these stupid-ass casual fans step into the ring, or at the very least educate themselves before they post their opinions and try to put them off as facts? Because that would require work. Here's the big question. As of right now, who do you favor, Canelo or Triple G? Because an important question was if Canelo would be able to carry his speed, power, and not have stamina issues while doing so. And similar question to some of the other ones today. And I don't know. I don't know who I'm picking, Canelo or Triple G, because like I said, for me, it's hard to use that type of fight where one guy doesn't appear to be trying for whatever reason. Maybe the past came to haunt him and making the weight depleted him where he couldn't get his punches up. I don't know. For whatever reason, he looked flat. Chavez Jr. looked flat. So Golovkin won't go out like that. Golovkin's not going to put that, you know what I mean, put that type of effort at. I don't remember the last time Golovkin couldn't make weight. He's a professional. He's been making 160. He has known power at 160. He's either hurt or stopped or knocked down most opponents he's faced recently. So it's a different type of fight, and it's hard because if Chavez Jr. was, let's say Chavez Jr. was looking like he did versus Andy Lee, right? And Canelo got past all of that, then I would be like, oh, okay, that's something. But it's very hard because you had Chavez Jr. who put very little effort, at least on screen. That's what it looked like. You know what I mean? It looked like he put little effort into that for whatever reason. So it's hard to just automatically say Canelo will beat Golovkin off of that performance, because Golovkin, I really can't see him putting up no resistance. I think that'd be like a Joshua Klitschko. I think that could be like a war where, you know what I mean, both fighters have to dig. Next question, Oscar Estrada. What's up, Ego? If Canelo beats Triple G, where should he be on the pound-for-pound list? And how well do you think he will do versus guys like Charlo, Jacobs, and Billy Joe? Ooh. Canelo, he needs to be on the pound-for-pound list to beat Triple G. Triple G's undefeated, 30 fights or whatever he has, and he has all belts but one in the division. So if Canelo beats him, he already has the popularity star power, but that'll enhance his pound-for-pound profile for sure, especially depending on how he beats him, like if he does beat him. And I think Charlo and Jacobs will be the hardest fights for Canelo at 160, because those guys are athletic, those guys have power, and he's gonna have to. Canelo has good rhythm and stuff, but so do those guys. So that's a good fight, very good fight. Billy Joe Saunders, to me, seems like the easiest. I'm not trying to roast or throw shade, but he didn't look good versus that Wolverine dude. His activity is not really there. He fought Andy Lee, didn't fight for another year. Then he fought that Wolverine. Hey, Berserker Barrage. He looked terrible in that fight. Now he's back to I don't know. I guess he's fighting Aventel Curtice, so we got to see how he looks in that fight. But that's a good fight. You know what I mean? If Aventel Curtice beats Billy Joe Saunders, and then they put him in there with Canelo, that'd be a real good fight. They're both kind of short for the division. Both got power. But in my opinion, Jacobs and Charlo would be the hardest based on their size, frame, athletic ability, and power. Next question, Mod Guyver. Do you still agree with the 7 reasons Chavez is not an easy fight for Canelo? And I don't know if you're being facetious, but no, of course it was an easy fight for him. See, this is the thing, and a lot of people won't understand this, but I speak from the heart and I'm real, and what I say is pure. That's how I really feel. So I'm human at the end of the day. If I thought, I didn't even do a prediction video. Some people are saying, oh, you got your prediction wrong. I didn't get my prediction wrong. I just said the fight is not going to be easy work for Canelo. But I was wrong in that regard. But I didn't even make a fight prediction because I ran out of time and whatnot. But as far as that, I mean, I don't care. I thought it would be a tougher fight, as did most people. Like I said, 20,000 people or whatnot showed up. So obviously I wasn't alone in thinking that it was going to be a good fight. I can't really account for somebody who has like this loose cannon behavior, you know what I mean, and doesn't perform to the way we all expect them to, you know what I mean. So I don't really take a hit. I mean, people are making memes about me saying it would be a tougher fight. I really thought it was going to be a tough fight, but Chavez didn't execute, and he didn't do the things that I'm sure Nacho and his father, Chavez Sr., wanted him to do, right? So I can't, you know what I mean, it's not my fault. But based on the style, if he had fought how he always fought, the pressure style, him naturally being bigger, use his size advantage, then it would have been a tougher fight. But he didn't do that. He wasn't even throwing punches. So, no, it was easy work for Canelo. Next question, Luke Oliver. I personally think the WWE presentation at the end was, I guess, questionable emoji. What do you think of this implementation by Golden Boy to promote the fight? You know what, to be honest, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was straight. I thought it was cool because the fight card was very lackluster to me in general. I didn't really see any fights where I'm like, yeah, like, you know what I mean, off the heels of Anthony Joshua and Klitschko, that was epic. You know what I mean? And I got on the horn immediately, and I was so excited and so happy for boxing that we just got a heavyweight fight like that. And I told you guys in that post-fight video, I was like, Canelo and Chavez Jr., they got a lot to live up to. They got big shoes to fill, and clearly the main event didn't fill those shoes. So Triple G coming out like a WWE Stone Cold, and that's the bottom line because the good boy said so. Like, that actually was the most action out of the whole main event. You know what I mean? Just seeing another future fight that we've been wanting. So I didn't really care about. I wasn't mad at it. I mean, it seemed kind of, it made the whole event seem a little bit more fixed. But in terms of, I'm just glad it's happening finally. So, and the fight didn't deliver good back and forth action or any kind of competitiveness. So I wasn't really anti that. I was like, oh, cool, it's really going down. Golovkin's in the ring, Canelo's in the ring, and it was cool to see him side by side, face off and stuff like that. Next question, Thomas Guido. Is this the worst performance by a boxer in recent memory? Yeah, I see you guys in the comment section saying Manny Pacquiao in the Mayweather fight. I wouldn't even say that. I don't think, like, Pacquiao, I never, besides the shoulder injury excuse, that's the only thing that it makes me lose respect for that performance, just because you made excuses after. But I think he was trying. I think Pacquiao, I mean, he even clipped Mayweather. He hurt him twice in that fight, I think. I think it was the 4th round and maybe 6th or 7th round. So that Pacquiao's performance was nowhere near Chavez Jr. because he was actually winging shots and throwing punches. He just doesn't have the ability to close distance on Floyd. And Floyd is Floyd, you know what I mean? Floyd is a master. That fight's different too. Pacquiao and Mayweather in the same division. Chavez Jr. was fighting a guy coming up 10.5 pounds, and he had a size advantage on him, even with the catch weight. And he didn't use none of that. So, yeah, it's definitely one of them. I can't think off the top of my head another fight that was hyped up this much that left me feeling so empty after the performance. You know what I mean? You can't even Klitschko, like, you know what I mean? You can't say nothing about his performance. He got knocked out, and his performance showed a valiant effort, a ton of heart, and it was, his brother even said it, Vitaly, shout out to the Klitschkos. He said that was my brother's career best performance. You know what I mean? You could definitely argue that. He was in there with someone young, just as strong, and he hurt him. And he, quote unquote, exposed him or exposed vulnerabilities or made him look vulnerable in spots. So, yeah, I mean, I can't really think of another performance in recent boxing memory that toppled that. You know what I mean? You could say like Lucas Matisse versus Danny Garcia or something like that. People thought Danny Garcia was going to get knocked out. Danny Garcia, that's another one. I was pretty disappointed with his performance versus Keith Thurman. I thought he could have did more, but and then Keith Thurman at the end, I thought he could have did more. I thought he should have just kept doing what he was doing. But I still seen Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia and Lucas Matisse, all them dudes I just said, I seen them trying more than Chavez Jr. So yeah, to me that's the one that stands out. Next question, Isaiah Hernandez. Ego, who do you think is going to emerge the top of the middleweight division, 160? My money's on JERMALL CHARLO. Who you got? Don't know, man. It's a coin flip. It really is, because JERMALL CHARLO, he's a great fighter, but we haven't seen him. I gotta at least see him fight somebody at 60, because you never know. Moving up in weight is no joke, right? And not everyone's gonna be like Chavez Jr. and not provide any resistance like Canelo on his move up. So I gotta see something. But JERMALL has a shot. Canelo Triple G winner and Danny Jacobs, those are the guys that really stand out to me, and it's going to be between them. If they did like a Super 6, that would be awesome, something like that. Or not even a Super 6, just fight each other, you know what I mean? Canelo Triple G winner fight Jacobs or JERMALL CHARLO. So it'll be interesting, but I got to at least see JERMALL CHARLO. I mean, as talented as he is, as great as he looked at 154 versus mandatory and K9 bunchers and stuff, I still got to see how he moves up, how his punch power moves up, stuff like that. Because Broner, when he moved up 2 divisions, which is a little bit more, he didn't look as strong. Like, you know what I mean? People could deal with his power better, stuff like that. Next question, James Lopez. Sup, Ego? Triple G versus Canelo, September 16th. Can't wait. Great fight. Does Canelo have the power to hurt or KO Triple G? Yes. Does Canelo have a good chin for a middleweight? I don't know. Undercard should have David Lemieux versus Danny Jacobs. What do you think? I mean, I would love that. Danny Jacobs versus David Lemieux. Great fight. Guys both lost to Triple G. One loss was a little bit. That's another, to the last question. Someone said a performance that didn't live up. Lemieux versus Triple G. That was a dud. Again, Lemieux didn't use what he has, what his ability, and didn't go for broke. Like, he didn't use his God-gifted power and that aggressiveness and his offense to try to overwhelm Triple G. And that was his only shot. We knew Triple G had more skill. We knew Triple G was the longer, taller fighter. So that's another one that comes to mind. As far as Danny Jacobs versus David Lemieux, I love the fight. Do I think it will happen on the undercard? Probably not, because that's his own main event on HBO or whatever, Showtime, whatever they do. But I think the budget for both of those fighters, you know what I mean? Plus, Jacobs he's on the Heyman side of things and not Golden Boy. So I don't think it's likely, but I would love it if it did happen on the undercard. Canelo having a good chin, very hard to tell. Again, Canelo wasn't met with much resistance. Whatever it was, the weight or the gun shy from Canelo's power or punching and his fast hands, Chavez froze up, so he didn't really hit. He had some good body shots early in a couple spots, but he didn't really have any effective headshots that just really challenged Canelo. So I don't know what Canelo's chin. In general, Canelo looks pretty tough. Never been knocked out. Never been knocked down as a pro. So, and he's been fighting since 15. I mean, obviously the competition got greater, but I mean, if you're 15 in Mexico, they don't fuck around. You might have to fight a 19, 22-year-old or something. So he looks tough. And your first question, Canelo does have the power to hurt or KO Triple G, in my opinion. Body shots are no joke. Triple G, he seemed kind of vulnerable to the body versus Danny Jacobs. So we know that's what Canelo's good at. Inside combination punching, very nasty body attack, great punch variation. So even if he can't KO him, I think he has the power to hurt him. Triple G is a regular person. He's a man. I've seen him on several occasions. He's not that big. I mean, he's bigger than Canelo, who's also not big for middleweight. Canelo's more massy. He's not really tall for the division. But Triple G can be hurt. You know what I mean? He's 35 years old. I think he has been hurt in fights, even though he doesn't admit it. He says he's never been hurt in a fight. I've seen fights where I think he was hurt, but he has a good poker face. He's tough. He's durable. And as a fighter, you're programmed to do that. You're not, oh, I'm hurt. Please, no. You know what I mean? You don't want them. If they see that you're hurt, then they're going to pounce right all over you. I've seen guys who were gassed out and then hurt their opponent with the shot, and all of a sudden their energy and their fighter instinct just kick up right there because they know their man is hurt, and this is a chance to end it all. I don't want to go no more rounds. I don't get paid by the hour. So, yeah, no fighter is going to really, unless they have to, show that they're badly, like mortally wounded or hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I think Triple G just hides it well. But I know he felt them Danny Jacobs punches. Even the Kell Brook, he looked like he was feeling that. But that's just my opinion. Next question, Air Warden. Hey, Ego, I was just wondering, what are your thoughts for the future of boxing in terms of the mainstream interest? I'm the quote-unquote boxing guy at my high school, and people come to me if anything interesting is happening in the boxing world. But this past week, a lot of people were talking about Joshua Klitschko calling AJ the next Mike Tyson, and were asking my opinions on Canelo Chavez and if Canelo was going to fight Triple G. Given that boxing has gotten a lot of press over the last few weeks, and then the big Canelo Triple G announcement, do you think boxing is back from the dead? Word to Dana White. Yeah, I'd never thought boxing died, but it's definitely back. It's back for a few reasons. One of its staple divisions that was pretty boring for years. And the reason I say boring is because their talent pool, it was like the Klitschkos or bust. You knew nobody could beat the Klitschkos. You know what I mean? Even the guys that you thought had a chance, like David Haye, he came up very short. And that was another, since we're talking about earlier in the earlier question was miserable performances, that was another one where people thought David Haye was going to beat Klitschko, and he was going to just really do it. And then he's complaining about his pinky toe, and it wasn't a great performance. Him losing to Tony Bellew, that was a better loss to me, even though he got stopped in that fight. And it was just because there were no excuses, and he fought valiantly with heart, right? And that's all we wanted from Chavez Jr. But yeah, boxing's back because the heavyweight division is back for one. There's very intriguing matchups. You got Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, huge British fight. Tyson Fury is going to help sell that. He might even get under Joshua's skin, which will help sell that, because Joshua's no punk. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's real or not, but there's a reporter that was like chastising him about being too nice, and Joshua was like, stop saying that. Hey, get your man. I told you to stop asking me if I'm being too nice. You're going to see how nice I am in a minute. You know what I'm saying? Joshua's no punk. Dominic Breazeale tried to get under the skin in the pre-fight face-off stuff, and he stood his ground. So the heavyweight division's back. You still got Cannon Briggs. You got the Tyson Fury fight for Joshua. You got Joshua Wilder, which is the #1 fight I want to see. A lot of good options. And a lot of the guys, the top heavyweights, the Luis King Kong Ortiz, the Cannon Briggs, the Wilders, the Joshua, they all have crazy knockout power. You know what I mean? Power to hurt you bad, which is what a lot of people like to see, that gladiator stuff. So it's back for that reason. And there's just 2017 is lit. There's a lot of great fights, a lot of fights that we want to see. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, it wasn't the greatest fight. It wasn't as good as Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, but it needed to happen. And Keith Thurman became 2-time from 1-time. So it's all good for boxing. Joshua Klitschko, that was the coming of age for Joshua. Dealt with adversity. You can no longer say he ain't fought nobody. He fought a G, 41 or not. You know what I mean? So it's definitely back, because fights like that, even if they do Mayweather McGregor, that's going to help the sport of boxing, because it'll generate interest. Conor's going to have some funny shit to say. You'll do nothing, Floyd. Floyd. You know what I mean? It's going to be fun. So yeah, boxing is back. It never went anywhere, but it's definitely back, because 2017 is killing the UFC right now. Name one UFC fight you're really looking forward to. Every single UFC fight that I really watched this year. Actually, I want to see the Cody Garbrandt Dillashaw. That's a good one. But most of the cards haven't really been delivering to me. Like, I thought Rumble Johnson would do something different versus Daniel Cormier, and he actually did the same thing. And that whole card was just aight to me. So boxing's back. I don't care what nobody's talking about. Next question, Luke Oliver, Boxingego. Congrats on your channel. Thank you. I like the content. Please extend my greeting to Troy King when the occasion presents itself. Respect from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Shout out to Canada, man. And yeah, I'll let Troy King know. And Luke Oliver also has a question. Boxingego, although Canelo's domination was evident, I thought I seen him breathe hard through his mouth occasionally. Do you think he's 100% with the new weight, 164 pounds? No. But the good thing for Canelo is he's not fighting at 164.5 anymore. He's going back down to 160, which will be a little bit less weight. It'll take up a little bit less, require a little less blood flow, oxygen, and stuff like that. So he'll probably settle in and be good. Plus, it was his first fight, and he did a radical jump, 10.5 pounds. Canelo admitted post-fight that he was tired. He said rounds 5 or 6 or something, he was tired, but he got his second win, and luckily was able to mask it. So Canelo's a true fighter. I seen him, he was winded, but it's also hard to pace yourself when you're landing such beautiful shots like Canelo does, and Chavez is just taking them and just there to be hit. You know what I mean? Canelo's probably trying to practice stuff. Like, bop, bop, bop. We worked on this in camp. So yeah, he probably got tired from that, from wailing on a dude, and the dude was just being a punching bag. You know what I mean? You punch a punching bag for 2.5 hours or 36 minutes straight. You know what I mean? Anybody would be tired. So yeah, I seen a little bit of fatigue, but rightfully so. He threw a lot of punches, and you know what I mean, he's hitting a naturally bigger guy. Plus, he had radically jumped up 10.5 pounds. There's pride and adrenaline on the line. So yeah. Next question, Drew Jackson. What up, Ego? My question is, what's next for the winner of Canelo versus Triple G, since both would essentially conquer the mountain? That's a good question. I told you what I'd like. Obviously, the Billy Joe Saunders, Aventel Curtise winner, that's a good fight, and that will make that fighter undisputed. The only thing is, if Canelo wins, he said he's not accepting the WBC belt. So I don't know how that would work, because if he has beef with the WBC, then if he beats Golovkin, he won't be undisputed if he's not accepting the belt. So I don't really know about that. But if Triple G, he don't have no beef with the WBC. So if he beats Canelo, then I see him going after Billy Joe Saunders, Curtise winner, because he's one belt away from being undisputed. So that's my thoughts. Aside from that, I would like to see Triple G, if he beats Canelo, rematch Danny Jacobs, if it's not Billy Joe Saunders, or JERMALL CHARLO. And same thing, it's the same list for Canelo. Danny Jacobs or JERMALL CHARLO, if he doesn't go after Billy Joe Saunders, or David Lemieux for Canelo too. I don't really want to see the Lemieux Triple G fight rematch just yet, because I haven't seen enough improvement to feel like that'll be that much more different than the first time. But for Canelo, it's a different fight because he's shorter and he's not as proven and not as tall as Golovkin, not as proven at 160 at the weight, you know what I mean? And David Lemieux has been looking good and very strong since the Golovkin loss. Next question is from Marcus Ego. Do you think they should have waited to the press conference for the Canelo versus Triple G fight? I thought that was kind of, like something against boxing etiquette. Nah, it was impromptu. I'm sure they'll do an actual press tour. I'd be surprised if they didn't. They did one for Canelo Chavez. So it was just a little impromptu thing to get fans excited and juiced. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't really think Chavez Jr. is tripping off of boxing etiquette, so to speak, because if he was, then I think he would have probably tried harder to put up a better performance. You know what I mean? So that's just my thoughts. Next question comes from Lamada Villa 1244. Why was Chavez's performance bad? And I kind of mentioned it in this video. I think it was a culmination. One, you got to rate the skills of Canelo. Canelo was a student of the game. He was focused. He was zoned in. Even though he's moving up in weight, he had the better skills. We all knew that going into the fight. And really, Chavez Jr. gave up his only advantage. Nobody that I know, even the people that were picking Chavez, nobody said that Chavez had faster hands or better defense or better upper body movement or better ring IQ. And he literally gave up his best chance of winning by not using his size and constant pressure. Then the weight probably had an effect on him, having bad camps. Sorry, I had to get a sip of something to drink. Bad camps, and then having to make weight, and then you do all that just to make weight, and forget you got to fight. You know what I mean? You got a fight coming up, so that's why I think those top two reasons: Canelo's skill, and then the weight. After so many camps of not doing it the correct way. Next question, JB, Lucas Fetty Wap Matisse versus Adrian Broner. Who you got? Okay, I didn't get the Fetty Wap. I get it with the I. Wow. I'm picking AB to win via UD. I think Lucas too small to bully AB, and Lucas ain't been the same since Danny broke his face. Adrian counters with will finish that what Danny started. That's a good fight. They're both really 140 pounders probably that are fighting at welterweight, most likely next. Lucas just fought at welterweight against Emmanuel Taylor. But I would probably favor Broner too. Just the athleticism, hand speed. Broner, when he lets his hands go, it's a problem. And the thing is, I know Matisse he fought Maidana in the amateurs, but the Maidana with Robert Garcia, he was fully motivated. He had just come off a beating and stopping Jesus Soto Caras. He stopped somebody. He had an Argentina feel-good fight, stopped that person. And then he stopped Josecito Lopez. in a fight that he got hurt. Like his knee was, or leg got numbed or hit or something. And he went into Broner fight confident with a new team, Alex Ariza and all this stuff. So if that version of Maidana didn't stop Broner, even though he hurt him, and then Broner came back to show you the heart and even hurt Maidana late, then I would probably favor Broner over Matisse, because Matisse, he's one fight removed from being stopped and basically quitting. Danny Garcia broke his will, like you said, and you look at it like John Molina knocked him down 2 times. Broner pieced up John Molina, and it's not about triangle theories, but just you look at it. Broner beat Emmanuel Taylor before Matisse beat him, and Broner beat him at where I think Emmanuel Taylor fits better, 140, as opposed to, I don't think Emmanuel Taylor's a 147-pounder. I mean, can you picture Emmanuel Taylor versus Errol Spence Jr. versus Keith Thurman versus Kell Brook? I think all 3 of them would stop Emmanuel Taylor. So, yeah, I would probably favor Broner in that fight, but he would have to stay careful and cautious because Matisse does have a new trainer and he does have power. But I don't know if Matisse, like I said, one fight removed from quitting, confidence-wise, I don't know if his power and confidence will be, you know what I mean? Like, Emmanuel Taylor didn't present anything for him to really have to respect. There's not been any fight that I've seen with Broner since he's been famous where they didn't have to respect. Even the Sean Porter, he was losing really all the rounds, but he still knocked Sean Porter down in the 12th round. So I think Matisse would have something to respect in Broner. The hand speed, athleticism, Broner's power, stuff like that. So you never know. You could revert. You're going to remember, like, there's a part in the fight with Taylor, looked like his eye was bothering him or something, and then Taylor tried to jump on him. So at this point, I would favor Broner. Next question, Gerardo Hernandez. It's not boxing related, but what's your take on Funk Flex disrespecting Tupac? By the way, saw you at the Boxing Expo. I see you grinding. Yeah, you know me. I'm out in these streets trying to give something back to the game and the boxing fans. And as far as Funk Flex, I think, I mean, he comes across as a hater. First, he was hating on Drake. Like, I get it, you know what I mean, in terms of, I've done music, you know what I mean, hip-hop and wrote. And I pride myself on being an artist and being original, not biting off of somebody and stuff like that. So I understand the hip hop code, but Funk Flex went above and beyond to try to go at Drake, and it just made him look like a hater. And then now you're talking about someone who's been deceased for 20 years. It's buffoonery. You know what I mean? Why would you wait until a person died? When Funk Flex, to my knowledge, I think he was out when Pac was alive. You know what I mean? He was still a famous DJ back then. So why would you wait? You know what I'm saying? And they even had that, I remember I got the Funk Flex, a CD a long time ago, and it had Biggie, they had the Biggie versus, or Biggie and Tupac when they rap. Biggie, where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn? I got 7 Mac 11s, about 838, 9. That song. And then Tupac was like, throw your hands in the air. But you put that on your album and stuff, and then like 20 years later, you're dissing him. It's crazy to me. So I don't respect it. And I was always raised, you know what I mean? You don't have to go in on the deceased. Like, you know what I mean? They're not there to defend themselves or to respond. So it's kind of cowardly to me. So I don't respect them for that. And Pac's my favorite of all time, so even more so. Next question, D-Boy206. What's up, Ego, aka my real bro? Would David Lemieux looking real good in this fight, and Triple G and Canelo fighting each other? What does that mean for David Lemieux, and what should he do next? Keep making that hard work look easy, bro. Thank you. David Lemieux, I want to see him fight Danny Jacobs, JERMALL Charlo, any guy who's like top 10, because he, you know what I mean, he fought like a Curtis Stevens who was probably a top 10, and he got a great knockout, sensational knockout. So he just needs to keep fighting, keep actively fighting. Like, he could probably come back October, November or something of this year, and there's enough noise at middleweights. It's going to be hard to beat Triple G, you know what I mean, because he already lost to him, but I don't want to see that right away. I want to see him keep doing what he's doing. It's just like getting some rounds in, knocking other Glenn Tapias and hurting Marcos Reyes and going the distance, knock out a year with Curtis Stevens. Keep doing that, building yourself back up. Start fighting, eliminating some of the other people in or around the top, area, and then challenge Canelo or Triple G or whoever at the top for the top spot. And D-Boy206 has another question. Ego, do you think Chavez got hurt early in the fight, or do you think that was weight drain or just not motivated? Which one? I mean, it really could be all three of those things. This is just my opinion. But he was definitely gun shy because of something that Chavez was experiencing and something that Canelo was doing. A lot of people, I don't buy all that stuff post-fight. Oh, he never hurt me, my power, because his face looked tore up. Chavez Jr.'s face looked tore up. So I don't see how none of that hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, I understand adrenaline, I understand how the fight game works, but even if let's say hypothetically the punches didn't hurt you, the punches are tearing up your face, causing your eye to swell, and if your eye is swelling, that means there's bruising and stuff like that. So wouldn't the bruising hurt? You know what I mean? Having a swollen eye, not being able to see, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So I can understand you saying, oh, I wasn't on Queer Street or he never badly hurt me, but to say it doesn't hurt, I mean, your injuries from what he's doing to you should hurt. I don't know if you guys ever like trip and busted your lip or hit your head on a pole, or, you know what I'm saying, banged your head against something, head-butted someone in an accident, all that shit hurts. You know what I mean? So if a dude's just unloading every punch he got, I'm pretty sure it hurts at some capacity. So I don't know, weight probably has something to do with it, but Canelo's skills did too, like I said. This cherry Coke is kind of good. Next question, /92 Gibson. Hey Ego, first of all, congrats for your boxing channel, man. You do an amazing job. Thank you. Hope my question makes it to the list. It did. So here it goes. Prime Meldrick Taylor versus Prime Aaron Pryor. Who would have won? Wow, that's a good one. Taylor had the speed. I would probably pick Aaron Pryor. He had cracks, you know what I mean? So if we're talking prime and prime for prime, I would probably say he would try to catch Meldrick Taylor. That's a good fight though. That's a really good fight. I don't know. And there's a little bit of like mystery surrounding like the whole black bottle incident with Aaron Pryor. So I don't know. That's kind of a little bit in the dark about what really happened on that particular night. But that's a good fight. Like I said, Meldrick Taylor, he's one of the fastest fighters I've ever seen. You know what I mean? He's just an amazing fighter. And obviously it's sad what happened in the Julio Cesar Chavez fight, because that really took something out of him. He never looked the same. But the prior fight with Alexis Arguello, I mean, that's a war. It's an all-time classic. So I would probably go with Pryor for prime, because he beat Alexis Arguello and stuff like that. Next question, Anthony Heredia. Hey Ego, love the channel. Keep it up. Lots of respect. Thank you. Do you think the weight drain was part of Chavez literally not doing anything in the entire fight? Do you think that Chavez didn't want to risk getting knocked out? Well, according to Chavez, he said he was never bothered by Canelo's punches. So you guys take that for what it's worth. I'm sure weight did hurt him, but a lot of fighters experience different stuff. You got to be able to push through that. That's what makes you a fighter. You fight through it. So even if the weight, which I do think this weight hurt him, you know what I mean? Because even the Dominique Bridge fight, he didn't look that flat. And I know Bridge is not Canelo, but he was at least throwing punches and stuff like that. So I'm sure the weight did impact him. But like I said, you can't make that excuse, because he signed up. He said he could make the weight. He did make the weight. And that's part of being a fighter to me, is you got to push through the weak moments, the fatigue, the injuries. I've seen guys fight with their eyes. I mean, Keith Thurman, he fought Robert Guerrero. He had a hematoma. Like his eye looked horrible. Tim Bradley versus Diego Chavez. Injuries happen. I've seen guys fight with Deontay Wilder, had basically a broken hand, a fractured hand. He fought Chris Arreola and stopped him like that. So, you know what I mean? Joshua, I'm pretty sure he was buzzed and tired, but he ended up saving up a second win to stop Klitschko, a legend. So, I mean, that's kind of comes with the territory. Even if the weight, you can't blame it all on the weight, because fighters had to push through worse, like injury. I mean, even David Haye, dude, my dad had he had the ruptured Achilles where somebody cleated. He was playing flag football or whatever. My dad was in the military, so they had like a little league on base, and the guy stepped on his Achilles and his cleat slid it. Like, if you guys remember that movie Pet Sematary, where that little badass kid was under the bed and the grandpa put his slippers on, and then he had that scalpel and he cut him. He's like, no fair. That's what happened to my dad's Achilles. So to see David Haye and knowing and seeing firsthand what happened to my dad, how he had to be on crutches and get surgery and stuff to mend the Achilles and all that. See David Haye even trying to, even though he got stopped in the end, he was trying to fight and still trying to knock out Tony Bellew. I mean, you got to give guys like that credit. And then on top of that, Chavez is coming out after the fight saying Canelo has no power. He's not a big natural puncher. He never hurt me. So that makes your performance look even worse, because what was it that was making you so hesitant that you put on such a flat performance? So the weight probably did affect him, but at the same time, he still could have pushed into a different gear, especially if you weren't hurt by the punches, like you said. Next question, Sherrod, Baltimore. Yo, Ego, Chavez reminded me of De La Hoya in the Pacquiao fight. It just looked like he couldn't get off. And then the 9th or 10th round, I saw one of the dudes in his corner give him some Pedialyte. I've never seen a fighter drink that during the fight, only to rehydrate after the weigh-in. Do you think he may have left it in the gym making weight? No excuses though. He signed the contract and got in there, and Canelo dusted that ass. Solid win. Yeah, and that was pretty much similar to the last question. Same rules apply. I think weight did affect him. I mean, but see, part of it is the fighter. Chavez Jr., you had all them bad camps where you would not control your weight and it came back to haunt you. You know what I mean? It's like I know, I don't know. Like I've known people. I've never done hardcore drugs, but I know people who have done hardcore drugs. And depending on what they were doing, that affects you long term. Some of them, you know what I mean? If you do crystal meth and stuff like that, that can affect you. I've read up and watched specials and stuff, and I've seen people, and that stuff can affect your central nervous system long term, like whereas there's no reversing it. You know what I mean? Like you did crystal meth, and you know what I mean? They put all kinds of chemicals and junk in that, Breaking Bad, all that, and you're not the same. It's like it's gonna, at some point, it doesn't. Like you notice. Here's another example. Growing up, I was a huge wrestling fan. WWF, when it was called WWF, but now it's WWE. And you notice, as I got older, I'm like, man, these wrestlers are dropping like flies. And a lot of it is because, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but I've read up on all these, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys I looked up to, they're like my favorites and stuff, Ultimate Warriors and stuff. They were doing stuff your body really shouldn't do. And it's almost like a mystery that they were able to last as long as they did. You know what I mean? Like a lot of those guys were partying, living like rock stars. I mean, wrestlers back in the day, I don't know about now, but wrestlers were like rock stars. So I'm sure the women were there. I mean, dudes in shape, diesel ass white dudes, and you know what I mean, black dudes, and athletic and on TV. And they were living the life. A lot of them were juicing, doing steroids, partying, drinking, probably doing coke and all types of stuff like that. And then it comes back to haunt you. You're doing steroids and all that extra stuff. It might not affect you right when you're young, but it could come back to haunt you. You know what I mean? Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, he had to have late in his life, like not too long ago, he had to have triple bypass surgery, heart surgery or something, because he was on steroids in the 70s. You know what I mean? Same rules apply for Chavez. All them missed camps and getting up to 200 pounds and then struggling to drop it and smoking weed when you're supposed to be training and not really getting the weight off properly, and DUIs. That probably had more of an effect on him. Like, I'm not saying it would be easy, but if Andre Ward, for example, let's say he was like, man, there's a great opportunity to fight Triple G. Let's say Triple G beat Canelo, and they're like, man, 100 million if you fight Triple G at 168. Ward would probably have to do a little bit to get there because he already moved up to 75. He has a good size frame, but I don't think it would be as crazy and dramatic for him to get there as it was Chavez to get to 164. So that's kind of what it is. And there can't be any excuses, especially if you're saying the man didn't hurt you. Next question, Juan Medellin. What's up, Ego? Great work, brother. Respect. Thank you. Now that Charlo is at 160, if Canelo beats Triple G, how big can that fight be? I mean, that's a Texas fight all the way to me. AT&T Stadium, Alamo Dome, somewhere. Charlo's from Texas, got a family there. Canelo has a fan base in Texas. Make it happen. If he gets past Triple G, that's like the Mount Everest for him. That's the people say, oh, you gave up your belt to not fight Triple G. So if you conquer that, then there's not really going to be a fight out there that's going to be as big unless you fight Floyd, which I don't think Floyd is moving up to 160 to fight Canelo after he pretty much beat him. So there really isn't, based on the first fight, there's not a reason that warrants a rematch unless you just say, oh, Canelo's just so improved since then. But yeah, I think Canelo should fight middleweights and top middleweights after that point. It's probably not going to be as big as a Golovkin fight, but they're still big fight. Danny Jacobs, JERMALL, CHARLO, Billy Joe Saunders, Curtise winner. Those are all good fights for him and big fights. And Canelo, if he beats Triple G, his star power is going through the roof because he's already a big star now. Next question, Uriel Dominguez. Hey, Ego, another question. Were you surprised at Canelo's stamina? He didn't even look to be tired as he sometimes does. The dude didn't even sit down. That honestly shocked me. What do you think about his stamina standing up in between rounds? I think the standing up was just kind of a mental game because I never seen him do that. So he was probably just trying to show Chavez Jr. like, I'm the boss. I think that was psychological warfare. He was just doing something different. And he says he kind of does that during sparring. He was tired though, because he admitted it himself. He was tired. He said rounds 5 or 6 he got tired and then got his second win back. But it's to be expected. He moved up 10.5 pounds, and out of all the other people that made the radical weight jumps recently, Amir Khan for the Canelo fight, Kell Brook for the fight with Golovkin, they all came up short, and Canelo didn't. So his stamina was cool, and now he's only having to make 160. He should be good. Next question, Santos Aranda. Did Chavez just commit career suicide by not showing up against Canelo? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help him. That's the point blank period. It doesn't help him because this was the opportunity to erase all the past mistakes and past discipline issues, and he came up drastically short. Like I said, even if he had one moment like he had with Sergio Martinez that 12th round against Canelo, knock him down, be the first to ever knock him down, you kind of save face. Like I said, Canelo or Chavez, when he fought Maravilla, Sergio Martinez hurt him in the 12th. Or even Broner. Broner, when he fought Sean Porter, he lost every single round basically for 11 rounds. But then the 12th round, he hit him with that check hook and was the first and only person, and he's not even the biggest welterweight, to seat Sean Porter, even though it was at a catchweight. So yeah, Sean Porter got knocked down. So if Chavez Jr. was able to do something like that, it would even be able to save face. But you can't lose 12 rounds after talking trash and saying you only fight smaller guys and I'm gonna be the one to knock you out, and then put up that performance. Of course, it's not gonna help you. People want to see results, and that's kind of what it boils down to. Next question, random commenter. Yo, Ego, what went wrong for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? He trained so hard for the fight. What hurt him? Was it the weight, the game plan, or his trainer? Definitely wasn't Nacho Berisstein's fault. I expected Canelo to win in a tough, great fight by decision, 7 rounds to 5, 8 rounds to 4, but it was a one-sided beatdown. And I kind of been talking about it all video. Same thing. Weight played a part for sure, but part of that is Chavez's fault because he hasn't taken care of his body. You know what I mean? And as a professional athlete, sometimes that stuff, when now you have to make weight and you came down and you thought you did a great job coming down, it showed you that it still took something out of you because you had to come down lower. I mean, Canelo's team knew what they were doing by making the fight at that, because it shows they know what only Canelo's team knows what kind of weight cut he goes through to make 154, 155. And them knowing that, they're probably like, man, he's going to be great fighting at 164.5 because it's less of a weight cut. Plus, that weight cut's going to kill Chavez Jr. So that's definitely a part of it. Otherwise, why didn't they fight him at 167 or something? Because they knew he'd be fresher at 167. Them extra couple pounds hurt. So I don't believe it was the trainer. I do think it was the weight. Game planning was definitely an issue too. You can't just wait and let someone pummel you for the first 8-10 rounds and expect that Sergio Martinez 12th round. You know what I mean? It's not how it works. Because every time you have to muster up a lot of energy, and your energy levels are being depleted because you're getting mopped up and beat up on. You know what I mean? So you're not going to be fresh. So are you going to really be able to pull the trigger late in the fight when you're letting someone hit you with every punch they got? Probably not. Plus, you're going to be discouraged because they're into a rhythm. Next question, Hassler Trevino. Shout out to Boxingego. Thank you. Love the channel. Always keep it 100. Thank you. Do you think since the Mayweather loss, Canelo has been studying him more and more? Of course. I keep seeing more shades of Floyd every time Canelo fights. Yeah, I told people about this a long time ago. For example, the pull counter Floyd is known for, and just his all-around defense. Yeah, Canelo's not going to admit it. His team's not going to admit it. But I study the game, and if I study the game, I know a lot of other people see it too. And I know he studies the game because he's picking up on stuff. And there's no shame. Some people, like, I don't know if it's a Mexican black thing. Like, people, oh, he didn't take nothing from Floyd. He's a runner. I don't know if it's because Floyd, you want to stereotype him as a coward or a runner or scared, or he's not action and Canelo is action. Whatever it is, I see it. I see he's learned. He was even in the fight with Floyd trying to do little cute things that Floyd does, but it wasn't working because Floyd is Floyd. Floyd knows how to deal with that, right? So he's clearly studied him, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, I'm sure it's not one thing, you know what I mean? It's not like he just studied Floyd and like he's sitting in a room watching nothing but Floyd tapes. I'm sure he studied Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., maybe even Salvador Sanchez, Sergio Martinez. You know what I mean? That's how people learn. They say good artists copy and great artists steal. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. And you guys can believe dumb shit all you want. Oh, he would never learn a thing from Mayweather. Whatever. I would want to learn from somebody who beat me down, you know what I mean, 12 rounds, unless you're CJ Ross. So yeah, I clearly see it. I seen it in the Cotto fight, and that's just what it is. Next question, James Gordon. Did you see Guardians of the Galaxy 2? And how do you feel about them naming a main character after you? I guess there's someone named Ego, you're trying to say? I never seen it yet. I seen the first one, but I definitely love Marvel, grew up on Marvel. So I like the first one, so I'm gonna go see that. Is it good though? If you guys seen Guardian of the Galaxy, let me know in the comment section. Next question, Marcos_is_king. Can Chavez Jr. bounce back from his loss to save his career and his name in boxing? If so, how can he? I don't know. It's an uphill battle because people aren't gonna believe you. You know what I mean? Like Jay-Z said, we don't believe you. You need more people. That's what it is. You keep disappointing the public. It's the boy who cried wolf. So I don't know. I don't know what he could do because he's saying 168 is his natural weight. There's killers up there. Who's he going to be at 168? James DeGale? Gilberto Zordo Ramirez? You know what I mean? It's an uphill battle. So I don't know. He has to determine if he wants to be a fighter because what he displayed didn't look like it versus Canelo. Next question, Keston Breerton. Do you think Chavez shamed his father's legacy and will be shamed everywhere he goes in Mexico for life? Wow. I don't know. You got to talk to the citizens of Mexico and see how they're taking it. Obviously, they're not going to probably be happy or proud. But, I mean, a lot of people keep doing that. You can't blame Chavez Sr. I know it's disappointing, but it's not his fault. You can't take away from Chavez's legacy, Senior's legacy, because of his son. That's like saying Bruce Lee was in nothing but classics, Enter the Dragon, Return of the Dragon, Game of Death, and all that, Fist of Fury, before he died. That's like saying his son Brandon Lee, he was in a couple of B movies. I forgot what, Operation something. He was in a couple B. He had some good movies though. Don't get it wrong. I like Brandon Lee, Rapid Fire, and Showdown in Little Tokyo. Those are probably my favorites with Brandon Lee. And The Crow, of course. But because Brandon Lee did a B movie, you know what I mean? He's not his father. So, because he did a movie that wasn't good, you can't, oh, Bruce Lee's legacy is ruined. You know what I mean? Bruce is Bruce, Brandon's Brandon. And the same thing applies for Julio Sr. is Julio Sr., Chavez Jr. is Chavez Jr. So, you can't take away, like start taking away points from his legacy. I think, to me, it's more damaging when fighters damage their own legacy, like Roy Jones, like, you know what I'm saying, he got knocked out by guys he clearly would have beaten in his prime, but he kept fighting. Victor Archini kept fighting. That's more damaging. But you can't take another family member and say, oh, he didn't live up to what his dad accomplished, so his dad's legacy is now ruined. I mean, obviously it doesn't do good for the Chavez name, but I mean, that's what it is. Not everyone, that's why certain people are anomalies and certain people are great. It takes something to be great. And it's different. Chavez Sr., I don't know everything about Chavez Sr., but I'm sure he probably came up rough, grew up in Mexico, you know what I mean, poverty stricken, stuff like that. That might not have been Chavez Jr.'s experience. He grew up, had money, his dad had money, he could probably get stuff, probably got a car when he was age 16, stuff like that. So he never really had to work the same. It's just different generations, different experiences. I know my dad had to go endure things that I never had to endure based on the timing, you know what I mean? But that doesn't change. I still learned a lot. You know what I mean? My parents are still married, and my dad's a grinder. So I learned from his work ethic and just seeing him as a role model. So everyone has different experiences. And the final question, DK, Ego, is Triple G getting a flat rate or a percentage of the fight? What is Triple G getting paid? I do not know. The fight was just announced, unbeknownst to most of the boxing world. No one knew that was going on, really, for a fact. People speculated may or may not happen. So I don't know. I don't know what he's getting, but obviously he's good with it. It might even be less than 15 mil. And the reason I say that is because his numbers with Daniel Jacobs didn't do good. So they might have just been like, man, all right, we got to just take something because we need this fight. It's a meaningful fight. And if we beat him, then the next time we'll, in a rematch or whatnot, then we'll get the money we deserve. So it might be the situation like that. Maybe the 15 mil was the same offer and they just extended the same offer for the fight. But nonetheless, I'm glad the fight is happening. It's Monday Mail Day. Let me know what you guys think. Try to get to a lot of questions. I'll be back next week. We got Tank Davis coming up. He's fighting against Liam Walsh in the UK later this month. You got that same night, Gary Russell Jr. versus Oscar Escandón. Should be a good fight on Showtime, both of those fights. And then Showtime continues to kill it the following week with Kell Brook defending his IBF championship versus Errol Spence Jr. Let me know what you guys think of Monday Mail Day. I'm still in Vegas. I might go live later. It just depends on what you guys want. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.